Okay, so for the second half of 3.2, we're going to actually find intercepts from a line, an equation of the line. So here I have an equation, and I want to find the x and the y intercept. Now, remember the x-intercept, you make y equals 0. And for the y-intercept, you make x equals 0. Now, what I always do is I just make myself a little chart that looks like this, so I make sure that I get both the x and the y. So this means I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So now this is tricky because now I have 0 minus y equals 2, which gives me negative y equals 2. I don't want to know what negative y is, so I divide by negative 1, or you just move that over, and you get y equals negative 2. Now we're going to plug in 0 for y, so that gives me x minus 0 equals 2, x equals 2. So 0, negative 2, number in the y is my y-intercept. 2, 0, number in the x is my x-intercept. Let's try another one of those. 6x minus 7y is 42. Make my little chart. So I'm going to plug in x is 0. 6 times 0 minus 7y is 42 equals negative 7y equals 42. Divide by negative 7, and y is negative 6. Now I'm going to do y is 0. So I have 6x minus 7 times 0 is 42. 6x equals 42. Divide both sides by 6, and x equals 7. So here are my ordered pairs. My x-intercept is 7, 0. X-intercept, number in the x. My y-intercept is 0, negative 6. Y-intercept, y number. Okay, next we're going to actually just give you the equation to graph. So on this problem, I want to graph x minus y equals 4. Now, I'm going to teach you several different ways to graph a linear equation in this whole unit. For this particular problem, whenever you have the x and the y on the same side, it's always easiest to graph by intercepts. And that's what they want you to do on this problem. So I'm going to make my little chart. I'm going to make x 0. 0 minus y equals 4. Negative y equals 4. And divide by negative 1, or just move the negative over. Y equals negative 4. Now I'm going to make y 0, which gives me x minus 0 equals 4, x equals 4. I plot both points. 0, negative 4, 1, 2, 3 is here, and 4, 0, 1, 2, 3 is there. Then on your graphing tool, this would already be done. I don't have that right here, so I would use cardstock or a ruler to make my line. It's always best to graph by your intercepts when it tells you to. And here's the thing on your homework. If it tells you to graph by intercepts and you don't graph by intercepts, but you get the exact same answer, it will count it wrong. There's another way you can solve this. And I would have had this point and this point graphed if I had done it my way. The thing is, the computer would count that one wrong because it wanted you to do this by intercepts. So you had to have graphed these 2 points. So just be careful that if you're graphing a problem, you're actually doing what the problem says. All right, so I'm going to graph this by intercepts. So I have 2x minus 6 equals y. I'm going to make my x and my y's 0. Plug in x. I get 2 times 0 minus 6 equals y. Negative 6 equals y. Plug in my y is 0. That gives me 2x minus 6 equals 0. So now, this is where a lot of people will get messed up because they say 2x equals 6, or 2x equals negative 6, and that's not true. When one side equals 0, you have to move this over. The reason I'm moving this one is because it's a negative. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. I get 2x equals 6. Divide by 2, and x equals 3. So my intercepts that I would graph are 0, negative 6, and 3, 0. And that's how you graph with intercepts. Now, let's try one more where graphing with intercepts isn't going to work. Let me show you why. Now, your homework says just graph it. Graph it by plotting points. If I did my intercepts, let's plug in x for 0. I would get y minus 4 times 0 equals 0, y equals 0. Plug in y for 0. 0 minus 4x equals 0. Negative 4x equals 0. Divide by negative 4, and x is 0. If you graph that, your both points are the exact same point, and that doesn't work. You can't have both points at 0, 0 because that's only 1 point. You need at least 2 points to graph your line. So in this instance, you can just pick any number you want for your x or your y. I would do x because there's a y minus whatever it is. So I would give me a value of x. Let's say x is 1. It doesn't have to be a big number. It can be anything. So let's plug that in. Y minus 4 times 1 equals 0. Y minus 4 equals 0. Add 4 to both sides, and y equals 4. So I would plot 0, 0, and I would plot 1, 4 to graph my lines.